still remember the first time I played Warframe.
Every one of you guys that saw our initial Warframe reaction video that we posted not too long ago asked me to watch this 2-part documentary. So I'm like, okay, we'll check it out. A lot of people were asking about this for the comments, so.
Day, PlayStation 4.
Here we are.
During a break playing FIFA or Killzone Shadowfall or something, I wandered onto the PlayStation Store just to see what else was available. And it was then that I came across this curious-looking free-to-play game.
I wasn't quite sure what to make of Warframe, to be honest. I had no idea it was made by the studio responsible for one of my favorite games ever, Unreal Tournament. I had no idea that it was a game that Digital Extremes had been trying to release in some form or another for over a decade. And I certainly didn't realize that this curious little free-to-play game was the studio's last chance at survival.
Warframe's been out for 5 years now on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and of course PC. In fact, it spent most of its time on the PC in Steam's top 10 most concurrent players chart. But it's also a game that a lot of people know.
I knew that from the last video, but I didn't realize they maintained the top 10 like concurrent for a long ass time. That's crazy.
Absolutely nothing about.
Yeah, I know absolutely nothing about it besides the little bit I've learned in the last video, but I feel like that just kind of told me about the history of it, not so much the game itself.
So we thought, what better candidate for a no-clip retrospective than the remarkable story of Digital Extremes and Warframe. This story starts...
I got a Warframe-related playlist for you whenever we get to it. Heck yeah, thank you.
3 decades ago in the Great White North.
Part 1, War Stories. Okay. Fancy music.
Through grade 9, all the way through to the end of university, I always had in my head that I would do games just in my spare time as a hobby. It was always a hobby in my head. I wasn't getting into a real job in games, so I kind of put that out of my head. But yeah, I'd made games all throughout university. I went to university for mechanical engineering and expected to go into mechanical engineering. And one of the little games I was making through university, I got published in this little kind of magazine disc thing called Big Blue Disc. That would be on, you'd see it on the magazine shelves.
Okay.
It would come out monthly, and I was just looking around for something to do with my game that I finished, which is kind of a cool little game, and I sent it to them, and they paid me my $1,200 for the rights to do that. And I was amazed that I actually made a little bit of money from this tiny little game. So that's kind of the first stepping stone to get to professional and actually money coming in.
What was the game?
It was called Legends of Murder. You can search it online and probably find it. I think I found it somewhere.
That's a fantastic title.
Okay.
And it actually works. I was just playing it a couple months ago.
Right.
You can download it somewhere, and it's yeah, it's funny little game. I still thought at that point it would be a hobby in that, and I thought it'd be fantastic if I could make a little bit of extra income from that. And so as I was finishing university, I was a big fan of Star Trek at the time, and it was kind of, and then
I'm assuming he's going into the fact that like what started out as a hobby ended up becoming this full-time career, right? And I think that's so fucking cool, because like for anyone else, like the artists and the creatives out there, even for me personally, like I've been making content, I think now like 4 to 5 years, but initially I was making videos for 3 years without barely any views. I barely would break 1,000 views, right? That was considered a crazy video for me. I think I made about $2 over the 3 years of making YouTube videos. And then randomly one day, Honkai Impact 3rd, I woke up after uploading my first HI3 video the next day to 10,000 subscribers. And I somehow made like $300 in ad revenue. And I was like, bro, what the fuck is happening right now? What?
a game called Star Control.
And then the next one, and then the next one, and then you know, the rest is kind of history. But it's like, oh, it's such a cool feeling when you're doing something just for passion, and then it ends up becoming this bigger thing, right?
Had come out. I just loved this idea in my mind of combining those two things, and
yeah.
I ended up making this game called Solar Winds, which was just finishing up as I was graduating university. And right around that time, I knew this game was a little bit bigger, a little bit more interesting, a little bit more viable as a real product. And so I remember playing Hugo's House of Horrors, which was a shareware game at the time. I actually physically wrote an actual letter to David Gray. I do believe his name is. I can't believe I remember that. And I sent the letter off to him. I asked, you know, can people make money from shareware because you're giving it away for free? And he wrote back and he told me about CompuServe. It was a good online area where people discuss games and shareware and stuff like that. And he said, yeah, some people make a few bucks and some people make $1 million. And of course that, you know, my mind exploded. And I think from there, that's where I got onto CompuServe and I found out about Apogee and Epic Games. I met Mark Rain, and the first game ended up being published by Epic Mega Games at the time. I think I was making
Epic
about
as in
$1,200
Epic
a month
Games
from
that we know
SolarWinds.
today?
And
Or
I
just
was,
a
like,
different
working
one
on
called
my next
Epic
game. It's
Mega
like, oh my
Games.
God, I'm going to go from $1,200 a month to $2,400 a month. So I can actually live reasonable on.
Bro, I straight up made just being fully fucking transparent. When I learned that I could go from pennies to, oh shit, I think I was 2 weeks in. There's some OGs in the, we're not OGs, but like OGs of the first blow up of the channel in the chat that can remember. I think it was a week or 2 weeks after our first Honkai Impact Third video, where I was like, wait a minute, I can go full time. The reason why I said that was because I made, to be completely transparent, $2,000. And I was like, wait, if I'm making $2,000 and I'm not full time, imagine if I just go all in. Like, fuck it, we're gonna go full time. I'm a all or nothing. You know what I mean? The full time possibility. Like, we gotta all or nothing. We're going all in. But I remember it was YouTube ad revenue, and it was like $2,000 total. And I'm like, oh shit! Like, this is possible. This is doable. You know what I mean?
On that. And so
Like,
it was exciting times, and I just loved the work. And the game that came after that was Epic Pinball. And so
yeah.
as I was making, I was like, okay, this is good. This game is my best yet. It's going really well. And so I was really quite excited about
the
it.
birthday
Thinking,
streams,
maybe
yes,
I'll make more
sir.
than $2,400 a month. Maybe I'll make $3,000. It's like in my mind, oh my God, $4,000 a month? That would be living in luxury. And of course it comes out, and it was a monster, like for individual, for one person making, it was a monster hit. And it just,
Yeah, real talk. I be seeing people on the internet be like, oh my God, I'm making $9,000 a month and I can barely afford cereal. I'm like, dog, how are you making $9,000 a month and you can't even afford cereal? Bro, if I was making base $9K, anytime I hit that, I'm like, let's go! Ah! I'm like fucking going, I'm losing my goddamn mind. I'm celebrating like crazy. Anything above $3K a month is like, for one person, really fucking good. At least
I remember my first check
my
was like
experience.
$50,000. So it was,
Yo, 50,000 is crazy. What the fuck?
yeah, it was a whole new world. And that was kind of the start of the upward climb.
Yeah. I remember my first ever sponsor was Punishing Gray Raven. Was the first time I was ever sponsored by a company, right? Or by a game to like make a sponsored video. Because they saw that I made a reaction to their game that was still not released in global. And they were like, hey, we're actually releasing in global. And you're one of the very few like English speaking people that like found our game. Would you like to be sponsored by it? I'm like, dude, I've never been sponsored by a game before. This is so fucking cool. And your trailer, from what I saw, looked sick. So hell yeah. And I can't reveal how much that sponsor was, but like for me at the time, it was crazy money to talk about something that I was already excited to be talking about, you know? And now fast forward to today, they have Wuthering Waves, and I'm crashing the fuck out saying I hate Kuro Games because they're draining my wallet dry, bro, and fuck. I say that lovingly, but like, oh man.
By the
I
time
love
James had
that.
finished his marathon of work on Epic Pinball, he was pretty tired of making pinball games. But Epic Mega Games, the game's publisher, knew that a sequel would be wonderful business.
Right.
James pushed back, saying he didn't have the creative energy to work on another pinball game. So Epic suggested that he hire some people to do the work for him. This was the foundation of Digital Extremes. And the first game for the team, Extreme Pinball, was another hit.
Wait, so the origin of Digital Extremes is because James didn't want to make pinball games. That's crazy. What?
While James's new team was working on pinball, he was taking his first steps into 3D game design. And it's through this that a decade-long collaboration with Epic would begin.
Bro, this is old school. Okay. Headshots. Double kill.
Today we often associate this franchise with Epic Games, but the original games were born out of a tight collaboration between the two studios. Between the two, they were around 16 people working collaboratively on the project. During the development of Unreal, the Epic team traveled to London, Ontario to work on the game, while the team at Digital Extremes traveled to Raleigh, North Carolina, where Epic is still based, to work on UT99.
As intense as Unreal.
Yes, dude, Killionaire.
Really just trying to ship a game. Unreal Tournament
bro,
was,
bring me back
I
to my
think,
Halo
more-
days. Holy hell.
Felt more creative and a little less pressure, but that allowed us to make even a better game, I think. At that point, so my programming contribution went down, and I think I focused more on the art and weapon. I can.
That
proudly
announcer
say
was
I think all the
legendary,
weapon
dude.
Designs are mine for the most part. So.
What are some of your favorite weapons from?
Oh, the flat cannon's always been my favorite. I was very happy with how that one turned out.
Did you put the smiley face at the end of the alt fire?
I did.
Wait,
Do you know
that's cute.
I'm not sure if this story's ever been told. We were all in North Carolina, and we were coming back from lunch somewhere, and we walked past a church called the Redeemer. It's like, hey, that's a great name for the big guy. So,
Pilotable nuclear weapon.
Yes.
Named after a church.
Yes.
Great.
I know Cliff had a lot of input in the weapons as well, but we wanted something that was more than just basic shooting. Combining the alt fires to add an extra layer of skill on top. So we were always looking for a way.
So this was probably the foundation of like
you can shoot the
Warframe's
weapon in
mechanics.
basic form, and you can do well. But if you have that extra skill and you can do the combos or whatever, that there's an extra layer of skill that's kind of built on top of the weapons. So that was definitely the intention, as much as we possibly could.
Do you have any favorite maps from that original 99 one?
Facing Worlds, Cedric's map was definitely one of our favorites that we played in the office. There was a lot of really good ones. I like Deck 16 was awesome. It was Nisha's map that was very memorable.
On Championship, pretty much everything. I worked on weapons and progression. I'm a programmer.
Steve Sinclair.
That's how I got my job
Game
here.
director.
So I program weapons, I program game modes, I program bots,
Steve!
bombing run, like all those kind of things. I remember one time when we moved offices, we had to have an electrician come in, and he had to come in late. I was the only one in the office, so I let him in. And he said, so you make video games here? And I said, yeah. He's like, whoa, any video games I might have heard of? And I'm like, yeah, Unreal Tournament 2003. He said, oh yeah, I really wanted to like that Unreal Tournament 2003, but you replace a sniper rifle with that god-awful lightning gun. And I'm like, yep, that was me.
After UT99, the teams continued to collaborate,
Hey, I like the honesty, man.
working on Unreal
That's great.
Championship for consoles and Unreal Tournament 2003.
I made that decision. I fuck me, I guess, but
But by the time UT 2004 came around, collaborating remotely became much more difficult, as both studios had grown so much. It was during this period that Epic and Digital Extremes almost merged, but the idea was scrapped once they realized the Canadian government would require a sizable tax payment up front. And so instead, like college roommates after the last day of class, Digital Extremes and Epic Games went down their own different paths.
crazy. Here we go.
After the release of Unreal Tournament
Gears of War! Oh, bro, I love this series so much. I don't remember too much about it, but like, yo, Gears of War 3 was fucking legendary. Oh, that game had me like eating my hands with a bag of fucking sweet chili Doritos. Like, what's gonna happen next? Please don't kill him. No! Like, oh,
Epic would want to
dude.
partner with Microsoft Studios
That
to
was a
create the Gears of
story,
War
man.
franchise.
Oh.
And Digital Extremes had a big idea of their own. A sci-fi action MMO they were calling Dark Sector.
Gears of War
They
3
poured
was
their
the
creative
shit!
energy into this project,
Yes!
hoping it would be the key to a new era for the studio. And in fact, it was. But instead of sending them down the path of creating an entirely new franchise for them to own, the demo kept securing them work-for-hire projects.
So yeah, the old DE that I worked at made some cool Unreal games with Epic, and then we hit the pitch circuit, right? Here's our idea for games. We tried to make this crazy sci-fi game that was called Dark Sector, that wasn't the Dark Sector that shipped. And I remember that was living out of a suitcase for 6 months, traveling Europe and West Coast with a tech demo in a cube PC.
Damn.
You walk in, you show this tech demo, and they say,
Okay, yo, That's goated as fuck. That's passion, bro. That's I live and breathe for what I do.
This is awesome. This is great.
Holy.
How would you like to make the sequel to this game instead? Right? So, you know, that wasn't really, I mean, it was very creatively upsetting and kind of soul destroying because you're putting everything into this, but it got us work. Publishers have their franchises and they want to build on that. And so we did that. We did what we call work for hire. Work for hire is we're going to pay you a lot to grow an extreme amount to your breaking limit, so that you have all these people to take care of with their families, their mortgages, and their hopes and dreams. We're going to pay you just enough to get to the end of the project. You better pray it earns out so you can get your royalties back.
If I look back on my career,
That's tough, man. The business side of the gaming industry really is brutal, man. It
was
really
probably
is.
my biggest personal mistake was to, you know, we had some.
It was even worse back then because at least now the world is learning that, what I mean by the world, I mean like the legal teams, the banks, the investors, they're realizing the power of video games from a financial standpoint, right? Back then, though, like investors and publishers didn't believe, you know, besides the niche ones in the prospects of how big a video game could be. They didn't catch on to it until like mainstream wise, like 5-8 years ago.
Good money coming in. We weren't that big. We were quite successful. But we had our eye on, like, you know, let's make something like the next Halo, like something huge, right? Because the games are at that point were getting bigger and bigger. Yeah. And that was exciting to us, and we wanted to be, you know, AAA, huge, biggest games. And so we'd come up with a demo or pitching ideas to publishers.
How do we feel about AAA games today, guys?
Looking to use their money to make some product. And it was definitely a challenge that went on with us for many, many years, looking for that product of our own. When possibly the better decision at the time would be to have been taken our own money.
Utterly disappointed. I feel like there's a few really good ones, right? But besides that, dude, good lord, man.
Made our own small little product.
Good lord, how far AAA games have fallen.
That was fully funded ourselves. That wasn't striving to be that big, massive
10 out of 90, 10 on actual good games for real.
blockbuster.
Then that's a lot. That's your own money. It's more risky. You could
More risky, but then you have
AAA, then there's Ubisoft, bro. We need to study the fall of Ubisoft. Which breaks my heart because the Assassin's Creed 2 to 4 were so fucking good, especially the Ezio trilogy. Like, I adore Brotherhood so damn much, and you know, unironically, I loved Revelations. I love the idea of, like, you know, the main core aspect of this character's journey is almost done, but this is like the tail end of it. Like, that is
full control over it, because just when you're doing a work for hire project, I mean, it's their money, so you're doing what they want, and there's
and now we have today's Ubisoft, which is just so sad.
maybe you never know exactly what they want, or they don't know what they want. And if you look at our history and most independent,
We have a video on the fall of Bungie. Maybe Legendary Drops will do one on Ubisoft next. Ooh, wait, we'll check those out then. Okay. Yeah, if there's any good videos you guys recommend on YouTube, by the way, let me know in the comments down below.
studios' history, when they have full control, complete control over the product they're making, which often only comes if you're funding it yourself, you will make a better product.
True.
For over a decade.
And that's the hard part, though, right? The hard part is having full creative control of what you're doing. Because guys, I'm gonna be real with you. I could be making, no bullshit, I'm being dead ass honest with you right now, and my fiance can vouch. I could be making 20 times the amount of money I make per month right now if I just gave up creative control over my channel. I'm so dead serious. I could get on 5 calls right like today after stream and be like, you know what? Fuck it. Let me lose creative control on my channel. I'll make 20x the amount of money I'm making right now. But I would lose all creative control. It's so, it's such a sad reality that most of the time, having that full creative control, you're losing out on so much revenue, and you need revenue to be able to create the things that you want to create, right? So it's like this odd conundrum, you know? And balancing that is so damn hard, and it's so tricky to an extent, right? And I don't think there's any like one right or wrong way to do it, but you definitely got to pick and choose your battles, and you got to choose like what you want to do. For me, I'm too picky about my creative control, so I just refuse to to give that up. So I'd rather be, you know, a little smaller or have a little, not a little, a lot less revenue if it means I can still say the things that I want to say, you know?
Complete control over the product
You know what I mean?
you're making, which often only
Why not control the loss of creative control? Because then you lose out on the money. And I don't mind it, which is why I lose out on a lot of money, right? But a lot of creators do. And it's not because they don't want to. It's just they want to do these grand, big things that require funding. So they're willing to sacrifice that creative control if it means they can get the funding for their big projects. But I'm playing this for the long game. I'm already happy that I'm at where I'm at my size. You know, if we grow any bigger, it's a blessing. If we don't, it is what it is. But I'm also really happy with where I'm at. Mainly because I feel like for me, if I lost the creative control on the way to trying to make my big projects happen, bro, I wouldn't be motivated to make content at all. I just know I wouldn't. I'd make 20x the money, but like, I wouldn't be motivated to do what I got to do.
it comes if you're funding yourself, you will make a better product.
For over a decade, Digital Extremes would work predominantly in the cutthroat world of work for hire. What
Yeah.
many studios do when they're in this situation is scale up for projects and then conduct widespread layoffs afterwards.
That's
But
tough.
James was from the area, and Digital Extremes was the only studio in town. His employees had roots, families, friends, mortgage payments. So him and the team did anything they could to keep contracts coming through the door. What this meant was that their Dark Sector idea kept getting kicked down the road while the team worked to keep the lights on. The studio partnered with Toronto-based Groove Games on Unreal Engine shooter Pariah and its sequel of sorts, Warpath. They took a contract to help create the PlayStation 3 port of BioShock. All the while
BioShock! Oh, shit!
shipping around their Dark Sector game.
Whoa!
You know, we had this idea, what would Metal Gear and like the Dark Crystal be if you put them together? So of course there would be like anime energy tentacles coming out of people's heads. There would be really cool robots, but the metal would be organic and changing. You know, we had a lot of ideas. Science fiction that wasn't necessarily just like James Cameron science fiction. We wanted maybe some Frank Herbert science fiction. So we had these kind of ideas. And
Dude!
I went off and wrote a whole bunch of stuff about these characters and the artists. You know, Mike Brennan designed these beautiful, kind of very interesting enemies, and him and Jeff, you know, worked on the original kind of what became our Excalibur suit. And we went around and pitched it, and this was kind of.
Man, this gives me vibes of like, I'm probably gonna get crucified for saying this, but gives me vibes of like Destiny. And I want to be that guy that like falls in love with Destiny because I feel like if it was done right, and maybe it is, maybe maybe I'm wrong, but like I feel like if it was done right, I would fucking love it, and it would be my favorite game of all time. But I never deep dove into the game because people say it wasn't done right, you know? And that's the heartbreaking thing that, you know, I love Destiny 1, Destiny 2 was ass. That's so sad to hear, man, because the concept is so fucking cool, right? I loved my Halos. I loved my Gears of War. The first 5 years of OG Destiny was peak. Ugh, dude, that's tough to hear.
Like kind of when Halo was sort of a thing starting to emerge, but everybody.
Okay, now you got to see the video I shared in the subreddit. Hey, if y'all have any video recommendations for us to check out, we do have a subreddit also. Feel free to post them there with the right flair.
Sure said no one likes sci-fi and they won't sell consistently every time.
That's the thing. These publishers always want to tell you what will and won't sell. You know, that's what makes it so damn hard, and it stifles creativity in the gaming industry because they all want to tell you what will and won't sell. But guys, who knows what sells more, gamers or publishers? And maybe people would disagree with me on this, but I don't care. I die on this hill. Gamers, bro. It's so sad that so many of these fucking legal, finance, and publishing teams want to speak for the actual gamers when the majority of them, not all of them, but the majority of them don't actually know what the audience watching
Every publisher
wants,
said
you
no
know?
one likes sci-fi and they won't sell consistently every time.
Yeah, my hot take is Halo Reach was my favorite Halo of all time. And I don't get me wrong, Halo 3 story peak, but I loved Halo Reach. That was my baby. That was my baby, man.
So Tenno, which is the good guy.
You remember when E3 was good? Wait, no, sorry. Do you remember when E3 was a thing?
Guys, send in our boy. Here he is, Hayden Tenno.
Oh, bro.
Looking nice in his ancient Excalibur armor suit. All right, so there he is, and this is the perspective of our game. It's sort of an over-the-shoulder mixed third-person, first-person type control scheme. We've got
This is like all
on the
the
left
footage.
analog stick. We have moving strafe.
This ain't even
like
Warframe. This is Dark Sector.
And
Okay, so they do mention the Halo inspiration. Sick.
on the right stick, we've got look, aim. So we see the suit at all times, but
Okay.
we have essentially what is a first-person control scheme.
Back then,
Interesting.
you were really beholden to publishers to get your games out. There wasn't digital distribution. You know, you needed to get your game onto a retail shelf.
Bless digital distribution and being able to have more autonomy and you know, independence in today's era to be able to make your own projects without needing publishers. Like it's still kind of a need because you need, you know, publishing rights and the funding and marketing teams and yada yada yada, but like it's possible to break out on your own more than ever before.
And to do that was really expensive. And there was no way for kind of independent developers to be able to foot that bill. You know, you have to manufacture a certain amount even to get onto store shelves, and you have to pay all of that up front, along with, you know, the licensing fees that come with that. And being an independent developer up until about, I'd say 5 to 7 years ago was really difficult.
I mean, you talk to any kind of mid-sized developer, even these days, I think it's and especially back then, it was a huge challenge because the games were becoming bigger and bigger. And the mid-sized games, it was really even more hit or miss if they were to even gain any traction in retail.
As that runway was running out and I was getting desperate and we were getting chain yanked by publishers. You know, one publisher said, well, we don't like the hero, he's too feminine, can he have an eye patch? Like literally crazy things like that.
That's fucking wild, bro. Fuck that. No, dude. Let fucking... That's crazy, bro. Let devs have fun with their projects, man. Good lord.
It was getting so close to signing, but just wasn't. And it was dragging on and dragging on. So we did a pivot. We said, oh, it's gonna be, okay, those sci-fi stuff, fine. Okay, so it's gonna be more like Resident Evil than it is gonna be like, you know, Dark Crystal in space.
Right.
So we kind of made these compromises in order to land the deal, and we did.
The Dark Sector.
Fuck, that's so sad that they had to compromise that vision, though. That's sad. Ugh. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do, especially back then with the lack of being able to be independent and the online platforms that you can be you can take advantage of, and you know.
The sector that was eventually released looks almost nothing like the original pitch video. They took off the protagonist's mask. Instead of being a space soldier, he was now part of the CIA. It played less like Metal Gear and more like Resident Evil 4 or Gears of War. But they did keep the name, Hayden Tenno, a term
Oh, and that's where Tenno and Warframe comes from.
they'd use again in the future. Dark Sector received above average reviews when it was launched in March of 2008, but it came out in a tough market as it was an incredibly popular time for third-person action games.
Right.
Flailed around for a while trying to find its footing and find what the actual gameplay was and how we integrated the glaive with the gunplay and the cover system that was in existing games. Like,
I love Gears of War cover system. Bro, third-person gameplay of Gears of War, some of my favorite to this day. Oh, dude.
you know, like Gears was inspiration, but we wanted to do something a little bit better, a little bit more fluid.
I mean, that's the difference between what the publisher at the time wanted with the game. They wanted something that was more grounded and more kind of set in reality that people could relate to.
I know I say this a lot, but it's really cool that we can nerd out about the history of video games together, man. I appreciate y'all, truly. Thanks for vibing, man. Truly, truly.
Digital Extreme's Dark
I'm a
Sector
fucking nerd for
project
these
hadn't gone
topics, so it's
exactly
like-
the way they wanted to, but at the
Oh my
very
goats.
least it had been competitive at market. Plus, the team had another game out the door.
They continued
Oh.
doing work for hire gigs. They developed
Okay.
the multiplayer for BioShock 2 and Homefront. They designed The Darkness 2 for 2K and secured a contract to make the video game for an upcoming Star Trek movie. But the squeeze on mid-tier
Whoa.
games was getting worse and worse for publishers. Rising development costs meant that the revenue required to make each of these games a financial success was rising with each year. Digital Extremes found themselves caught in the
Hold on. Are you telling me this is a fucking story of Digital Extremes that is still behind Warframe? Is that right? That was pressured by an industry that required publishers, needed money, compromising on their values and their creative integrity and their vision, to then one day get to the position where they're at to be like, you know what? Fuck all of you. We're gonna make this game goddamn free to play. And fuck the need for money and fuck the need for compromising on the creative vision. And we're fucking tired of this. Like, that is a cool ass fucking story.
Crossfire.
Holy shit.
Well, I think a lot of publishers moved all that stuff
that's pretty
internally.
fucking sick.
You know, that
It's sad that they had to compromise so damn much, but like, that's really cool, man.
the mid-tier developer, you know, I think we saw the writing on the wall is those pitches and those things were harder to do, and the quality bar that the publisher required and the risks they were willing to take they weren't willing to take them anymore.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, well, we're gonna have to figure out something else.
You know, Star Trek's ramping down rather, and soon, you know, there won't be any more milestone payments coming in to keep the lights on. This other project that we had started that we thought was going to get greenlit,
Right.
that publisher had a bad quarter and are now doing everything in-house. You know,
Damn.
these are literally things happen.
It was a very challenging time, and it was definitely hard to get those, to work with a publisher to get those real, potentially high quality products funded, because there was so much at stake. Like, to compete, you need to put more money in them. And then
Right.
at that time, we're looking at free to play, and we heard amazing things about some of the more, World of Tanks is the most perfect example. They did phenomenal. I don't know what the budget was, but it clearly wasn't like a $100 million budget to ship that out the door. And we love the
Right.
idea of the fact that, you know, you can initially ship something smaller, and we'd seen this in a few other games, and then grow beyond there.
I'd like to shout out Braxophone, the #1 content creator in the world that takes the most World of Tanks sponsors. I swear on everything I love Braxophone. Every other video Braxophone releases, it's a World of Tanks sponsor. I swear, bro. I say that with love, though. I say that with love. That's my
So
guy, all right, bud?
It really seemed really appealing to us.
That is hella
that
funny,
concept
though.
Where you could try something out, see if the fans like
man.
it, and then
To
grow
be fair, World
as
of Tanks is
needed.
actually really good.
You know,
Whoa,
the inspiration
okay,
was,
I didn't know
can we
that.
make something
That's
small?
interesting.
I mean, back the clock up 2 years, that would have been an XBLA game, right? But XBLA didn't seem to be landing the hits that maybe independent developers like we were hoping it would. And so that seemed like, okay, well, here's another option. My interest was not, you know, free to play, let's
Not
book
free
the
to play.
players, right? My interest was, well, the scope of that sounds like something we could do with how much we have left. And it better work, because that's it.
Was it scary, the idea that, like, because you're not
Oh,
swimming
completely.
in
It was our
capital?
last. It was a Hail Mary. It was
Right.
like, it really was.
How close to closing were you guys, or how close to bankruptcy? Or?
Really close, really close. Yeah, I can tell that story. It was pretty, it was super close. We knew that this was our last chance, and we had a couple $1 million extra, like, to do this with. We studied all the games out there, a couple, like a game called Drakensang, which I really enjoyed at the time, and World of Tanks, and was it Battlefield Heroes, I think had done all right. So we're looking at anything out there that looked like it was sustaining itself. I told Steve and the guys, you know, you got 12 months. That's it. There's like nothing but 12 months.
We had tried to make a version of Dark Sector multiple times. We had made this kind of weird MMO prototype using Unreal. And we had kind
Really?
of servers
An
you could jump
MMO
between them,
is
and it was kind
a
of starting to
gutsy
feel
move.
almost like, you know, it was very precursor. The original Planet Side was coming out, and we're like, oh man, and World War II Online, like people were starting to make these kind of action games but with an MMO context. We're really attracted to that.
Steve had always thought of a Dark Sector sequel where we go back to the Space Ninja demo that we had done. And he's thinking like a small space pirate raid. So we'd kind of do randomly generated ships. You'd raid these ships, get loot, and come back. With that original idea of his, he kind of thought of it as a small, maybe like PSN or Xbox Live game type of thing that we just never really had the opportunity to make. So when we were thinking about going into the free-to-play, this seemed like a really good, small, tangible demo that we could make. And it was, for us, it was like this thing we really loved that we really never got to execute on.
A few of us went to James and said, okay, we think we can do this really fast if it's this and it's small scope. And we think that co-op is not served as it gives us an opportunity not to be kind of going against the giants.
Right.
The team had a round of layoffs, but they were still 250 people large. Steve was put in charge of a small group, around a dozen people, who put together the demo for this new free-to-play game, taking ideas as early as the original 2000s Dark Sector MMO and much of the gameplay and visuals from their failed 2005 pitch of Dark Sector. They put together a demo of their spaceship raiding game in just under 2 months. Then Stephen Meredith went back on the road to try and pitch this game to free-to-play publishers looking for any sort of cash injection to help them keep the lights on.
And we had the largest free-to-play publishers in the world, the richest. I don't need to name them, but you can just Google, who's the richest? Here they come.
Next on Giant Interactive, Perfect World, oh boy, CJ Entertainment and Hambit Soft.
And they walked in and they said, this is great. I can't believe this. What an exciting meeting. I'm so good. And in slow motion and the record needle scratch because it was sci-fi.
Right.
And they just walked in.
As soon as they saw that it was...
That's fucked, man. That fucked, dude.
Because it was sci-fi.
Bro, yes, Zara, you said it for me, Zara, yes! They're kicking themselves in the ass. They're so mad they didn't see the vision, and that's the thing, they usually don't.
Right. And they just walked in.
As soon as they saw that it was PvE and sci-fi, it was... yeah. And we were like, what?
At that same time, I remember one of those guys, they came to the studio, they did the tour, they looked at what we'd been building, and his reaction was interesting. It was, this is the best looking free-to-play game I've ever seen. You will fail.
Oh, that's fucking heartbreaking, bro. Ugh.
Dave and I just looked at each other. Oh, kill me now. So why are we gonna fail? Well, because the game can't look this good and update as often as you need to build your community.
Ooh, that's a harsh truth, but that is some knowledge right there.
The game can't look this good and update as often as you need to build your community. And of course that was branded on my ass, frequent, fast updates. How are we gonna do this? So a lot of early tech in Warframe, the procedural levels.
Honestly, that wasn't even an asshole comment. He was kind of looking out for them. He's like, because it looks so fucking good, it's gonna take time to develop the quality you need per patch in a live service game and build out that community at the exact same time, right? And it's an asshole thing to say, but that at that time, that is a lot of truth. You sacrifice dev quality when it's a live service game and you have a schedule to maintain per patch basis.
That sort of stuff, completely geared to that kind of idea of frequent updating. Those publishers didn't bite, and so it was, can we make money before the end of the year? And that was okay, so 9 months to make a game.
When the team tried to make the original Dark Sector, the need to get a publisher influenced that game dramatically, but this time Digital Extremes didn't have time to retool the game for publisher needs, and frankly, they didn't want to. They knew what type of project they were making. A free-to-play Space Ninja game they were currently calling Lotus. But what they didn't know was whether or not this game would be enough to help save the company.
This project was a
I love it! All or nothing, dude!
massive shot in the dark. Not only had the team never made a free-to-play game before, But this game was going to be responsible for keeping a studio of 250 people afloat while they scrambled to look for more work for hire gigs. What actually transpired wouldn't only shock and surprise DE, but the entire video games world. In the next part in this series, we take a look at the remarkable story of Warframe. See you then.
And this is the prologue. Oh, whoa.
So, the elephant in the room, at least for those of you who have never played it, what exactly is Warframe?
Yeah.
At its heart, Warframe is a loot shooter. You play short levels really fast to gather
That both looked really fucking cool, and then at the same time, oh my lord, potential UI bloat. I don't know. I'm guessing. Let me know if it is or isn't.
At its heart,
that armor looks so fucking sick though. Holy shit, the red and the blue. Sorry, I'm gonna be nerding out a lot.
Warframe is a loot shooter. You play short levels really fast to gather items that help you unlock new Warframes. These Warframes are varied around combat and elemental themes, allowing you to use entirely different powers, weapons, and ways of movement. Some are melee-centric, others utilize magnesis, electronics, or spores. One bard class plays music to buff other players, music that can be written using an in-game sequencer. You can play single-player or co-op. There's a PvP component, an open world area, clans, a story, customizable pets, frames, ships, and loads more.
The Warframe of today is strange and varied, a bizarre game built atop the foundations of a very different experience. So to understand the game as it exists today, we must first go back to that early prototype, to a Digital Extremes that had 9 months to make a free-to-play experience that might just save the company.
So our company was focused on finishing up publisher stuff, pitching new stuff, things that were getting canceled, stuff like that. It was kind of imploding, right? It's no fault of the people that worked on those things. I mean, the ebb and flow of the economy, a publisher has a bad quarter, who's the first to go? Well, the contractors, and that's us. So that 9 months was trying to build as many of the beginning Warframes as possible so that we could have, you know, a minimum set, and then trying to invent an infrastructure for this kind of so-called back end, because we have MMO light features, account persistence. None of that stuff we had any understanding of. You know, building all the stuff you need for independence. Now you got to make your own website. Now you have to make your own, you know, customer support portal. How do you accept payments from people when you sell them a founder's pack? How do you get certification to take credit cards from people? It was really a lot of like back-end infrastructure and database stuff, while the artist, right, you know, scrambled to make as much of that kind of procedural level stuff that we could do to support, you know, keeping people interested.
Minimum viable product. It was the smallest thing we could put out that people could play, that people get an idea what we're trying to do. And slowly we've bolted on parts and added things to it. And I think that's how we treat everything in the game.
Is this the old
Don't worry
UI?
about it. Ship it. It's fine. It's good enough for 1.0. Ship it.
It's good enough for 1.0, ship it, okay. Part 2, wake up, Tenno. A lot of people comment this on the videos, wake up, Tenno.
My name is Rebecca Ford, and my current job title is Live Ops and Community Director.
Wouldn't Rebecca now, you guys were saying in the last video, now lead the creative director team? Is that right? Did I get that right? She's now the creator. That's so fucking cool, dude. Wow. That is cool. To come from a community team to creative director in this industry is unheard of, bro. That's amazing. That rarely fucking happens.
Cool. Current job title. What was your first job title?
Community, no, I think it was just intern.
Okay.
So that actually is true. Intern would have been the first one. I started my internship in January of 2011.
Cool. Had you ever worked in the industry before?
I was still in third year of university, so I sort of just came and never left.
Did you finish
She was
university?
instrumental to the game's
I did.
success.
No one ever asked for proof.
Fascinating.
But I did. It's true. When I first started, we were finishing The Darkness 2, so that was just sort of at the tail end of development, and I didn't have a role in any of that really. I just kind of came to the studio and figured where I could help. So I was doing like launch parties for the products and just general office things, stuck around, and then Warframe really started becoming a reality in early 2012, just mentally, and then it really hit the ground in around July, and I knew at that point that this would have been an opportunity, and luckily the people that I worked with felt the same way, so they were like, yes, this will need community support, and I was like, yes, I will do this.
So pre-Warframe, was there a community team?
No.
Okay. And when did you figure out that, oh shit, we need a community team?
Probably when we realized we were going to do it all ourselves.
I might get crucified for saying this, maybe not, I don't know, because you guys might pick up on what I'm insinuating here. There's nothing that breaks my heart more with game development for a game, right? Whether it's live service or AAA publisher or whatever, right? Any gaming company, when you see a gaming company be so passionate about the community interactions and the community building, and you see it with the social media accounts, like interacting with people commenting and responding to other people's TikToks and tweets and YouTube comments, and it feels genuine. It feels like they're really building out the community when they do that. And then you slowly see it get corporatized and professional, and it's like they're not responding to, game companies are not responding to tweets or comments anymore, and they're worried about the reputation and da 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 da. And from what I understand, it is really cool to see the Warframe team still to this day, correct me if I'm wrong, interact with the community with weekly live streams where they're streaming with the community and having a back and forth dialogue. And like, that is something so rare in the industry. And it's something that if it happened more often, you would see more games succeed, genuinely. And I'm not going to name names because I'm not looking to, start a witch hunt or anything like that, but you guys can think of games, I know you can, that started off being so community focused, right? And maybe still are to an extent, but have pulled back on how much they have that consistent communication and that transparency that they initially did in the beginning that they no longer do, right? There's so many cases of that, right? And I love to see that to this day, even after Space Mom, you guys call her, that's a cool ass name. I don't know if you came up with it or she came up with it, but that's fucking dope. Even after she's no longer part of the community team and is now the creative director, if I have that correct, is still making sure that that community is so necessary and building that out is so necessary. Because, that's everything at the end of the day. It really is. Is it a community name? That's so fucking sick, dude. That's so cool. That's so dope. That's so
Not
dope.
only do we need community, we probably need to support these people. So I started the support community forums, all that stuff.
Yes.
I think we were so, I don't want to use the word desperate, but I'm kind of going to.
No, that's real. I love that.
We were so desperate for this to work that we wanted to be in the thick of it as this alpha phase was happening. So we wanted to see what the problems were, where the issues, appeared to happen for the game, for the bugs, for all these things. And it really just had us glued to our communication outlets, which would have been the forums at the time exclusively, just watching.
Rebecca joined the team and helped in any way she could, even going so far as to voice the character of the Lotus, Warframe's space mom, who guided.
No way! That's where that. Oh shit! Wait, that's so fucking cool! Okay, I'm fucking geeking out. That's actually so fucking sick. Wait! Fucking nerding out. That's so fucking cool, man. Holy shit. What?
The player throughout their time in the game. The closed alpha was launched and the team kept a watchful gaze on feedback. Through emails and forum posts, they zeroed in on what bugs they needed to fix, what powers felt imbalanced, all while adding in new meshes for the Warframes. Warframe needed satisfied players because if this project was going to work, it needed to start supporting the small team that was developing it. They drew inspiration from the success that many niche games were having on Kickstarter and decided to put out a founders package for the game. This package would include a bunch of the game's currency, platinum, along with exclusive equipment, forum badges, Warframe sigils, and keys to the upcoming beta. The team had never sold in-game items before, so they had no idea if anyone was going to buy them.
I could kind of put my finger on the most optimistic I'd felt, which was when we started our founders program, which was sort of our own Kickstarter version of the game, which was basically you can become a founder of Warframe, and that means that you'll sort of have meant it was successful if it turns out to be that way. And I remember watching real time as the first.
Have to brag here, I'm a founder. Shut the fuck up, Zeru. Are you serious? Yo, wait, actually? Wait, really? That's fucking crazy. Yo, how does it feel? Yes, I have Excal Prime. Is that what they had to like symbolize that you were a founder? That's fucking cool. What the fuck?
Grandmaster founder purchase came through. And at that point, that was someone spending $250 to support Warframe for what it was at the time. That was like the moment when I realized people care about this game.
Right.
As much as us.
And I remember running into the office in November and right into the middle of a program.
Yo, Zeru, I'm gonna need, as a founder of Warframe, okay, that like supported the game from way back then, I'm gonna need you to do me a favor. Even if you don't play the game, I'm probably gonna say this, and I think that maybe people are gonna cancel me or you know, fucking click off the video, but like stick with me here. I'm asking for y'all's help, okay? I don't care for tribalism and none of that shit. I think that's just stupid. I just wanna see cool fucking video games succeed, all right? I'm gonna say it. It's gonna make everyone crazy. Duet and Abyss, all right? Hear me out. They went from a gacha model to a full free-to-play model, and I think that's fucking badass, all right? Here we go. I know. Hear me out, all right? I think that's fucking cool that they went from the gacha model to the full free-to-play model, right? And obviously, there's a good amount of inspiration from Warframe. I don't think inspiration's a bad thing, all right? I really don't. And the reason why is, even though, yes, there's a lot of inspiration, bro, is different. It's fucking anime waifu aesthetic. It's a completely different aesthetic, and I hope it does good, because if we can get another success like Warframe, from what you guys are saying, this can make it so that we get more passionate devs in the industry that focus on a quality product. But I say that to say, if y'all can leave any feedback that I should be looking for to like, hopefully we can give this to them and make sure, you know, it does good. I'd be curious to see what y'all think, since y'all have played Warframe so much and y'all can vouch for what worked and what didn't work. And I'm curious to see if y'all have like any hard examples of like, yo, they did this back in the day and it was a terrible ass idea and I hope they don't do it again, you know?
Programmer meeting, they're all talking about problems, and I just burst in the door. We made $1,500 yesterday.
I know nothing about either or, but like, I'm just curious.
You know, and they looked at me. I mean, it's not enough to pay them, right? That's not enough to keep the lights on. But my God, the look of shock on their face that people would actually pay for Warframe. You know, they were astounded.
Yeah, it was crazy. And what really at that time was the most scary was doing free to play.
Okay, Zeru, question. Why did you pay money for a game that had not proved its concept in full yet as a founder? What made you be like, fuck it, I'm gonna support him. I'm gonna be a founder. Even though it wasn't quite there yet. Like, I'm just curious, like, was there any way you could like recap that in you know?
And doing it wrong, because we were doing it wrong early on. We were selling power.
Because I saw the potential after playing it. It was really good foundation for a huge game. What gave it the potential? Like, okay, cool, it had potential. What made you go, this is why it had potential?
Customization.
I was a beta tester, I saw potential too. Okay, what do y'all, for the people that were there from like OG days, I'm just curious.
Really, at the time, we didn't really have a lot at the time, except a fun, free, downloadable game that you could shoot and be a ninja in.
Warframe is a game that many consider to be fair free to play, but that wasn't always the case.
Okay.
As the game moved into closed beta, it had a supercharged system that allowed players to double the capacity of their gear, but there was no
Diablo meets Halo with Guiver aesthetic anime. Don't know the anime. No one else was doing what they were doing. Diablo meets Halo is a banger ass fucking recap of a style. I could, you know, that's a great recap.
In-game way of unlocking this system. It was only available if you used real-world cash to unlock it, meaning those who were willing to spend could effectively be double the power of those who weren't.
The reason I don't like the Warframe here leveling up is if I go into this, there's nothing else to do because I need this upgrade, Orokin Reactor, and without it I can't take this Warframe any further. But you've got to use, real money to do that.
We come back to the studio, I think on January 10th, 2013, we took out the pay-to-win-ish things that we realized were horrible. This isn't, and we realized it because the community was like, whether they paid or not, they were hating this thing, and we were like, wow, this really is awful. So out it goes. 2013 starts off with the DNA now slightly, radiated to be fair, free to play.
With the open beta 3 months away, the team was desperately trying to get attention from the press. But back in 2013, free-to-play was a term that lots of traditional gaming sites were staying clear of. The team was having trouble getting the word out to new players, but their communication with the community was beginning to create a lot of goodwill around this new IP.
Yo, real talk, there was a free-to-play MMO that I played back in the day that, I had issues with, but, I fucked with just from, a potential standpoint, but I never quite hit it. Have y'all heard of Terra back in the day?
The growing buzz would eventually catch the attention of PC-focused YouTubers.
Yes, dog, I played the fuck out of Terra back then. Oh, shit. But I played it almost on cope because even though I enjoyed my time with it, right, it always was missing that thing where I'm crazy about the game. You know what I mean? But I got to end game and I was doing the raids and stuff and all that. But I just say that randomly because that was a good example of a free-to-play game that could have had potential to go crazy good, but it never quite hit it. At least from my experience with it. And I'm hoping, Blue Protocol does a really good job with that, or some other F2P games in the future.
And it was through that Warframe got its first big break into the mainstream gaming zeitgeist.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Total Biscuit. I'm here to ask and answer one simple question. WTF is Warframe? Warframe is...
Yo, I love this guy's voice. Who is this? Biscuit?
I'm here to ask and answer one simple question. WTF is Warframe?
Total Biscuit.
Warframe is a free-to-play co-op third-person action game developed by Digital Extremes. They brought you games such as...
He has the perfect radio voice. Oh my lord.
The Darkness 2, Dark Sector, and they were of course involved pretty heavily in Unreal Tournament and all manner of different things. They've had
in terms...
Passed away a while back. Fuck. What type of creator was he, if you don't mind me asking? Total Biscuit the GOAT. From cancer. Fuck. He was the biggest voice for the gaming community back then. That's respect. He did first impressions. Fuck.
Because of the public gamer consciousness, there was a before that video.
He used to be the biggest game reviewer online. Holy shit.
And then after that video, no question in my mind. So, and for me, that was very indicative.
I love that they included that in the documentary then. Would you guys say that he was a core aspect of bringing an impartial first impressions review of the development of Warframe? He was also a massive champion of small dev companies and used to actively fight against the corruption in the industry more than anyone I've ever seen. Fuck, dude. That's got me curious. I'm not gonna look into things on my own off stream.
Of how important
he shed a light on a lot of less appreciated games. That's cool.
It is to reach this viewership and everything. I don't want to say that in a needle finger, let's get the viewers, because that's not what I'm trying to say.
Let's get the viewers.
Yeah, I'm trying to say is people love looking around and finding new sources of entertainment. So, YouTube is one of those.
Certainly potential involved in Warframe, definitely. It's a very high fidelity, obviously kind of AAA quality, free-to-play game.
Fuck, he has the perfect voice. He really does. It's so just
It's a very high...
It's well-spoken.
High fidelity, obviously kind of
great enunciation, good clarity.
Play quality, free-to-play game. But it, I think, has a long way to go before it can really define itself as absolutely top tier and really have the content that's going to keep people playing for longer than a couple of days.
With more players coming through the door than ever before, the open beta launched on March of 2013, with 8 playable frames and hundreds of bug fixes, quality of life updates and balance improvements. The team was preparing to launch the game on Sony's new console, the PlayStation 4, but that wasn't going to market until November of that year, and free to play on consoles was an unproven market. At this stage, Warframe was only available through the basic web portal that the team had set up, so they realized it was probably about time that they turned on a certain valve.
We're now at this point where we can tread water and keep trying to build it. But it was really tenuous. It felt go, no go, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's laws about if you need to lay people off, you have to give them a severance. And that comes out of this reserve, right? So there's a point where you are really going to screw people over if you go right to the limit. So yeah, it was extremely nerve-wracking.
And it kind of got its feet under itself to support itself, just as, you know, we were running out of money. And so it launched, and we saw it did well. And then it wasn't until we launched on Steam that we knew we were saved, because we knew leading up to the Steam launch it was making enough money to sustain a small team, but we were 250 people. And so it's like we're sweating. It's like, okay, so let's turn on Steam and see how many people we can support.
Fuck.
And we turned it on, and it jumped.
I remember every day I'd get up and I would check our rudimentary stats to see, you know, how much had we made for the pre.
That's fucking terrifying, dude. Nah, bro. You had employees like waking up and checking the fucking stats of the game because that shit was gonna affect whether or not you had a job the next month. Dude, that is terrifying.
Previous day, with the hope that at some point it would be enough to maintain the team that we had on it, or at some point it would be enough to maintain the studio. And I don't remember how many days it was that it wasn't. It felt like a really long time, but I really remember the day that we did. Like, I remember waking up in the morning, I'm yelling in the living room. My wife came out, she's just like, what's going on? I'm like, look, Warframes actually can support the studio.
And I was like, oh.
This is, I'm gonna be a little selfish and fucking put my own experience into this. I can't help it. I like to connect with experiences. It's my thing. I feel like once you've found success with something you love in any aspect, it could be big, it could be small, you never forget the moment it happens, at least in my opinion. Like, he even says, I really remember the day that we did. Like, for me, I remember, I can picture the fucking, if you ask my brothers, they will tell you their perspective exactly how I describe it. I woke up and my phone has a fucking list of notifications. Comment. I'm like, what the fuck? I've never had these many comments before. And I'm scrolling and it's still going. I'm like, what the fuck happened? Going to YouTube Studio from 200 subscribers to 10,000 in a night. And I'm like, dog, holy fuck! Oh! Run out my room. My brothers are in the kitchen, right? My 2 younger siblings. And they're like, what happened? What happened? It's happening! What's happening? YouTube's popping. They're like, oh, bro. I don't know if they were having breakfast or lunch. It was like noon or 2 p.m., right? Daylight was out. My mom's in the kitchen, and she's like confused. It's like, what the fuck is going on? And I remember showing them the stats, and the middle brother, the next in line, right? My younger brother, he goes, I always knew it was just a matter of time. And then, you know, both younger brothers are looking at the stats, they're like, dude, oh shit, it's happening. Like, yo, I don't know. There's something really fucking real about that happening. So him being like, I ran out screaming, and my wife is like, yo, what's going on?
Yeah, like,
oh, dude, yes.
I remember waking up in the morning, I'm yelling in the living room. My wife came out, she's just like, what's going on? I'm like, yes. Warframes actually can support the studio.
And I was like, oh, okay. Well, now the problem is not just survival. The
Can
problem
you maintain
is
it?
Retention and keeping them coming.
I'm gonna be real with you. I was not ready for the success I got. I wasn't. I'm still not, to an extent. And this sounds real shitty to say, but like, I'm still learning on the job. And there's so much things that I got to improve on, and I say it all the time. But like, especially back then, I was not fucking ready to maintain that. Like, I'm grateful for it. I wouldn't trade it for the world, but I feel like the creator that y'all, even to this day, deserve for the support you guys show, I'm just not there yet, and I'm hoping I can get there one day. But it is tricky to maintain success that you are not ready for. So I'm curious to see, like he even mentioned, the problem is retention and keeping them coming back. I'm curious to see like what were their initial things that they had to do to try to maintain that success.
Well, now the problem is not just survival. The problem is retention and keeping them coming back, and growing the content, and we have one level in the game, like let's fix that, you know, that kind of thing. That was a big shift, at least in my mind, was when the big Steam audience came.
Warframe was making money, a lot of money, enough that for the first time in 2 decades, the spectre of work for hire was no longer giving the executive team nightmares. But Digital Extremes had wandered into the problem that Steve had been warned about a year earlier. How was this game going to retain people?
How are you going to be able to produce quality updates in a live service game when your game looks this good, right? That's a lot of development time necessary.
Free-to-play is a fickle beast, and while PvP games tend to keep people longer, PvE lives and dies on the amount of content available. Well,
which is why replayability is so important, man.
Turned out that the studio's biggest financial crutch, their large staff, was now their unfair advantage. Not only did they have 250 more people to work on the game now, but these weren't new hires brought in to help the game grow. These were veterans, folks who had made good video games, colleagues, friends, neighbours, people fighting not only for their livelihoods, but for their lives in London, Ontario. Digital Extremes had caught lightning in a bottle, and there was no way the team was going to let Warframe fail. They listened to the community and started adding new stuff immediately.
That year saw clans get added to the game, new Warframes are coming out, there's more places to play, and then we have our sights set on launching on PS4.
You know, we had very humble beginnings with this game. Like I said, it was going to be that kind of Space Ninjas raiding ships, you know, and then we kind of started to see that players liked hanging out in the game. So we started expanding, we started making custom tile sets for each of the enemy factions. We started like expanding the enemy faction types, putting tile sets on specific planets to kind of get a better sense of the solar system exploration that we kind of had lightly touched on.
I think certainly when we expanded our customization, that was a huge part of what made people like the game better, just at a visual level. When we redid the melee system and the parkour system, those overhauls were particularly well received.
That frame looks so cool.
Movement in Warframe was originally pretty similar to most other third-person action games, running, jumping, and sliding. But a movement exploit known in the community as Zoran coptering allowed players to catapult their frames great distances. It fundamentally changed the way the game was played, but instead of nerfing this exploit, the team saw that the community was trying to tell them something.
I love when they do this.
You know, bullet jumping.
Listen to the community, man.
Was brought in a way to traverse the levels quicker because players really loved what they called coptering, which was the movement was tied to the slide of a weapon. So certain weapons were really good at this because they had a very quick transition time. So they would fling you across the level. And some of these guys got insanely good and could basically traverse some of the biggest tiles in the game in basically one swing. And I was like, wow, it's kind of game breaking. But we love that they love the flow of that. So instead of just nerfing that and moving on and going, no, you can't do that, we kind of embraced it and brought it into the core gameplay, but in a more controllable way. And I think that's kind of been the philosophy, is like the community latches onto things for a certain
The community latches onto things for a certain reason, so run with that shit. You know what I mean? Let your community have fun with your baby, with your game. Don't take it away, you know? Like,
reason.
I love
Instead
that.
of just smacking their hand saying, no, that's not my vision, it's like, how can we embrace that and how can we bring that into the game and not just remove it outright? For the core gameplay, I think it's been an evolution of things that the community has wanted, things that we've wanted, and the marrying of those two things.
Reading the reaction to the community has been critically important for the success of Warframe. Hotfixes would come sometimes 2-3 times a week, adding new content, fixing bugs, changing the user experience. This balancing act between adding new content and fixing issues the community has is a constant back and forth battle the team has struggled with.
I bet.
And they found that the revenue the game makes from in-game purchases can be matched to how popular the latest content drop is. The better the update, the more players play, the more money the game brings in.
Facts. That looks fucking insane, by the way. What the hell? This reminds me of that one space level in Reach.
The hardest part about Warframe's life, I think, is the fact that it's clear from that data that Warframe needs to update to stay alive. The longer we don't update, the less people come check out the game, the less people stay in the game. So you have those two competing schools, stay in the game and come play the game. And then you have us, who has this 5-year, now 30 gigabyte behemoth that needs to be updated to stay alive.
Right.
So how do you explain to someone that you've been talking to that, you know, we will fix your bug, but we also really need to add this new thing, or people won't come? And they're like, well, stop adding shit, you should fix it. And you're like, we have to do both.
I literally met
Yeah, that balance is tough, man.
An acquaintance I hadn't seen in a while, and he said, I tried playing your game. And I opened that screen with all the cards, and I thought, I'm not smart enough to play this game.
Yeah, dude, UI overload's a real thing. UI redundancy and UI overload, it can make and break you. It really can. It really can.
And I didn't play it anymore. Rafe Koster is one of my favorite game designers, and his book Theory of Fun is just like my go-to. He wrote about how many times they changed the new player experience for Star Wars Galaxy.
Right.
And every time it did not affect their washout rate.
Really?
Yep. Here we redid it again. Nope, retention's not any better. We still have this many % of people load it up, play it for a bit, and never come back. And we've done the same, you know. We work on this and we try to fix those things. We get stats and numbers and we get data scientists. So.
Why do you think that is?
People are smart. They look at it, they see that complexity.
I love that. That's such an important fucking, like, philosophy to have as a game dev. He didn't say people are dumb. He said people are smart. If if there is no retention, they're realizing it's not good.
That is.
Right?
People are smart. They look at it, they see that complexity.
Ooh.
They know, they smell that means this game is going to take a lot of mental energy. And you're going to have to read Wikipedia if you want to min-max it. And they know I'm either in for that or I'm out for that. Does this Netflix series have 24 episodes or 10?
It's a real thing.
Right? It's a big commitment to play Warframe. One of the big parts of my job, which is how much time are we going to burn on a new player and how much time are we going to give to that 1,000-hour player?
One way they've
that's a hard thing to balance, man.
Managed to keep that open communication with the player base was using the power of YouTube and Twitch.
Love this. I don't care what company y'all bring up. If they're not doing it, they need to do it. I'm so serious. I need every gaming company. Let me repeat. I need every gaming company, every single fucking one, to have a team that interacts with their community on YouTube and Twitch. And if they do not do it, they are slacking when it comes to a community building part of their company. That's just the facts. It just is. That, like, your community is everything, so interact with them. You know what I mean? Have fun with it. You know, it is, at the end of the day, your game lives, breathes, and dies by the community. So, like, make that a part of the experience.
Rebecca started a popular developer Q&A stream from the office's canteen.
And we are ready to live stream our first dev Q&A for the Warframe community.
Love this! Yes! I need more game companies doing this, dude. And I don't mean just like, you know, like once every 5 months. You know what I mean? Once a year or once every, you know, X amount of 2-3 months. Like, make this a consistent thing.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to DevStream 107. Yay. This is also our 5th anniversary of DevStreams. We have been streaming since the end of February 2013. It is now 28.
I'm gonna be real with you. I am such a I don't even know what you call it. I fucking love dev streams. I think they are some of my favorite. I almost love dev streams as watching a new trailer for a game. Genuinely, there's something so fucking just cool about seeing a dev talk about their video game like it's their baby, because it is. And they're like, oh, like there's, I don't know. There's something, I've always loved and been so enamored by watching a dev stream. It's some of my favorite thing to watch for a game, even for games I don't consistently play or even touch, right?
That's
it's really cool.
That's not true.
Yeah, it is. If you've tuned into all 107, then way to go. You've made it to more than all of us, I think.
They started an annual fan festival called
Love
TennoCon,
it!
where players of the game travel.
Oh, that's cute. That is cute. All right. You didn't need to put it. That's cute. Okay.
They started an annual fan festival called TennoCon, where players of the game travel to London, Ontario to attend panels, hang out, and meet their fellow Tenno. They even created a way for fans to
Last TennoCon was their 10th, by the way. Really?
sell their own frames and weapon skins. This program, called TennoGen,
I want to attend a Final Fantasy fan fest. That's my dream. I've always wanted to attend one. Never been able to. If this is like that, like that's so fucking cool. I'd love to attend one, even if we stick with the game or we don't, just to see like, you know, the community nerd out about something. There's something so cool about that.
hang out, and meet their fellow Tenno. They even created a way for fans to sell their own frames and weapon skins.
This is the coolest fucking thing ever, bro. I need more games to do this. This is so cool. Like what? Imagine your favorite game allowed for the community to sell their own skins for some of your favorite characters. That is and they get a cut of the profit. That's based as all hell.
Program called TennoGen has earned some members of the community enough money that they've been able to get off unemployment benefits. They have a partner program where they support 200 content creators who stream and upload videos about Warframe.
That's fucking cool. Not a lot of companies do that. That is fucking sick.
They have a weekly community show called Primetime, and 2 of Rebecca's community team members, Megan and Danielle, run console-specific streams every week. They use the Twitch Drops program, which enables players of the game
this is probably my favorite thing. They run console-specific streams every week.
And 2 of Rebecca's community team members, Megan and Danielle, run console-specific streams every week.
I need every company to do this. I know I said it earlier, but I'm gonna say it again.
Upload videos about Warframe. They have a week.
Every game company. Every video game company, bro. Like every single one, especially if you're a big live service updating game company. I need this, bro. This has to be a thing.
The community show called Primetime, and 2 of Rebecca's community team members, Megan.
When you join the creator program, you get your own emblem into the game for other players to rock on their profile. Wait, that's fucking sick. What? So like it's like you're repping like your favorite creator. Wait, that's fucking cool.
And Danielle run console-specific streams every week. They use the Twitch Drops program, which enables players of the game to get free in-game goodies when they watch Warframe streams. Over the course of Warframe's life, this community has grown organically. Some play all year, some are newbies, others are returning veterans. But the cycle of players is always tied to new content. So to try and keep things fresh, every once in a while, the team throws a curveball.
What was happening was we were doing our routine, and Warframe's routine is great and it lasts, and it has sometimes, I think it has a saturation point of people needing a pivot for Warframe. So the 2 years prior, the pivot was cinematic quests, right? Came out of nowhere. No one was sitting there saying, I want a story that's going to surprise me. But they were saying, I'm bored. So how do you treat boredom with ambition, right? So you kind of have this repeated scenario where you can see your players are bored. They're asking for stuff, but what they're really saying is they're bored, right? And yes, you can deliver this feedback loop of, okay, we'll buff this Warframe, we'll change that, we'll change.
God, I don't know what frame this is, but this frame's sick.
Change these missions, and that matters a shit ton. That matters so much. But to treat the
oh my lord, did a dev just say shit? Wait, okay, she just became one of my favorite devs. I love how fucking authentic they come across. Yo.
Can deliver.
She ain't scared, bro. Hey, I respect it.
The feedback loop of, okay, we'll buff this Warframe, we'll change that, we'll change these missions, and that
Boss, that's Mesa the Gunslinger frame? Of course it's a Gunslinger
matters
frame.
a shit ton. That matters so much.
Hell yeah.
To treat the boredom at a different level, you need to shock and awe.
Right. Interesting. It's almost like the things you need to do are A, listen to your community, and B, not listen to your community.
Well,
like give them something.
I'm saying, like, basically, take your vitamins every day, right? Like, you will be healthy, you will be happy. It's good for you, it's good for us. But, you know, sometimes you need a new flavor, right? So you're still trying to keep the maintenance up of this back and forth relationship, but you need to change things sometimes, because if we had just released a weapon week after week after week after week for the last 5 years, we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation.
Right.
What we did do was we
love the environment here.
Continued to release those weapons, but we added cinematic quests. We added Arcwing. We added Lunaro, which turned out no one really plays, which is fine.
The way she said that. which turns out no one really plays, which is fine. Bro, that the same energy, like, everything is fine, it's okay. Oh shit, everything is fine, it's okay, it's alright. Oh man, holy, I love that.
Quests. We added Arcwing, we added Lunaro, which turned out no one really plays, which is fine. You're allowed to make mistakes, that's cool, but you need to try.
You gotta
try. One of the areas where the team needed to try a lot was the game's economy. The challenge of creating real-world payment shortcuts for the loot grind fell on the shoulders of Sheldon Carter.
And man, I don't know how you fucking balance that. Because on one end, you got to make money, right? But on the other end, like, it can't be too paywall-y, because then it doesn't feel good. And you feel like you're just getting beat out, you know?
It's a responsibility he doesn't take lightly.
The guiding tenet is try not to push them so that they're gonna, grind their face off to get something, but also give them enough variance so that getting those resources is interesting. Despite best intentions, there's always something where we need our community to tell us, hey, this is too hard. We had things with Kavats, one of the pets that came out. It was, too many scans. You had to scan wild Kavats in order to have enough scans in order to incubate a new baby Kavat. And it was just feedback from the community. They're like, hey, this is taking
cats. Got it.
Me. Like, is this what you wanted? Did you want us to spend 2 weeks on this? No, that's not what we wanted. We wanted you to do it. We want you to have to use the systems we have, but we don't want you to, spend forever. When we first designed Kubros, or myself, when I first came up with the Kubro idea.
So Kubros are dogs, Kavats are cats, I see.
We wanted people to be able to change the fur pattern and colors. So we had a lever, basically, for all intents and purposes. It was a button you could push and it'd be like, oh, if you want to pay, I can't remember what it was, so much platinum, you can change the color. And then you could take an imprint of that and you could trade it to someone else. So it wasn't, like, we're trying to give you a way to, like, you could get something cool and then you could give it to your friends. And we saw, a guy pulled the lever like 200 times. And it's just like, oh my dear God, what have we done? We've made, we've created a slot machine.
Right.
And so, it was a couple days. I think it took us to take it out, a day and a half. That one is a big regret. Obviously that was insanely profitable for someone to be doing that, but that's not what our design intent, and that's not what the intent of the game is. So that's why it was, that's why we changed it. When you're dealing with something that does have a kind of a cash component, you have to really be careful. Like, of course that would be cool in a game where there was none of that, where you were just, putting in earned money into it, but as soon as you put it as a premium currency and people can just go, oh, what can I get? Oh, I got the gold one. Amazing. How much could I sell that to other people for? And you're like, oh God, can't do that.
I've spent the past few months playing this game, watching YouTube videos, tuning into streams, all to try and get a sense of what exactly it is about Warframe that hooks people.
There's the moment-to-moment, the movement, the aiming, shooting, the inner loop. Then there's the outer loop of abilities, and then there's progression outside of that. But I don't think these mechanics alone account for why players find themselves attached to Warframe. I think a lot of it has to do with the bizarre universe that the game is set in. When the team originally designed this
Very
game,
different.
Mike Brennan, the lead artist at that time, didn't pull his sci-fi inspiration from Hollywood. Instead, he looked towards Europe and the work of acclaimed French cartoonist Mobius. Then there's the story of this game, a mix of unfinished ideas Steve had that has evolved over the years. Then there's the movement of the game, which came from a weird bug. The lore of the game, the design of the biomes and tile sets, all of this came from ideas the team had later, built atop the humble foundations of that early prototype. What this all has led to is that the game looks and plays like no other video game. Warframe is a weird-looking game. It's as beautiful as it is bizarre, and I think that's the surprise element that hooks Warframe players.
We do deliberately put a twist on everything we put into the game, whether it's even just as simple as the terminology. We have scarves in the games, but we don't want to call them scarves, call them sandanas. You know, and it's kind of the same thing with the way we approach the sci-fi angle. You know, we have our Corpus, who are kind of the heavy tech enemy faction, but you know, Steve did this really cool thing where he said, well, they're kind of they treat greed as a religion, you know, and that kind of is a really great inspiration for how you kind of visualize that faction. And you can kind of bring in, you can kind of get a bit wacky, as we like to say, with kind of the design of this. We don't really have a lot of restraint for how far we push things in Warframe. It's really fun, actually, as a result.
And even down to like vocabulary that's used. Like you don't just use the word like cat for your like cat looking.
No, it could not be a cat.
Right.
It's a kavad, of course. Kavad. That's one thing that we've like tried. Like there is no internal gospel of Warframe, but if there was, one version of it would have the entry of give everything a Warframe name.
Right.
And you can kind of see how that happened over time. Like early on, we had one of our amazing programmers named
Katana is a Nikana? Wait, actually?
Naming our weapons, like the sniper was just called the Snipetron.
I love that.
And it still is, like that's still in game. But now you see like names that are appropriate for each faction, and like the
Get Snipetron.
Corpus names are Plasmor and like really sort of techie sounding, and then the Grenier ones are like the Stubba and the Stug and like just like more visceral sounding.
That's great,
and that was an
bro.
evolved language dialect over time. I think it's a weird organic sci-fi world that is distinct to Warframe. Like that's it, and that art style definitely was the original draw for people to check it out, and it has been the reason that a lot of people stick around. And the uniqueness of each character and the level of customization of those characters, like these things are weird, and they are good weird.
Yeah.
The thing that I really like about how it's evolved is it's a very strong aesthetic.
Yeah.
And it's a very divisive aesthetic. You get people who love it, and I've seen comments where people, they try to play the game, but they can't get past the art. And in a way I kind of prefer that. I like that we make a strong statement.
Yeah, man, like stick to your vision, stick to your style, and it's your style, bro. Like let it have fun with
it. Versus just being something that's kind of
it's not gonna be for everybody. Not everybody's gonna like it, and that's okay.
More vanilla.
I'm starting to figure out that perhaps what looked like maybe a barrier to entry is also maybe your like unfair advantage, is that you have this very idiosyncratic or very like unique world that once people are sort of in on, then they feel really they belong to it.
I think you're entirely correct.
And that's powerful, because let's be real, guys. Whether a lot of the games out there look like each other or they don't, right? And a lot of them do. At the end of the day, we play them if they're good games, right? And they have good story and they have good gameplay. Like that's the core. Whether but if you can play a game that has everything be its own thing, completely unique, or at least mostly unique, and you can't get that experience elsewhere, whether you liked it or not, you will always think about, fuck, I do wish there was another game that had this aesthetic, this experience. So it makes you come back to it. You know what I mean? That's very, very,
when
very
we first
powerful.
started making Warframe, my background, as I mentioned, is more on the art side, and
thank you.
My directive to the guys was
shot, guys. Oh my lord! Oh, it's beautiful tacos. Yo! Oh my lord! And a drink. And a drink. para el queso. Boss, this is me, or do you always eat tacos? I don't always eat tacos, okay? I'm Mexican. I can't help it. I like my taco. Listen, I have tacos a lot of the time. I'm Mexican. I can't help it, okay?
Make whatever you want.
I eat
Like, let's just
burgers
make sure
too.
we
I
do
got
the
some
free
pizza
play right.
action in, you know what I'm
You
saying?
make what you're excited about.
I do
And
like
so
my
art
tacos, man.
director is
I'm on. Thank you for the food, by the way. Thank you so much.
monumentally talented. He just wanted to make what he loved, and I'm seeing it as like, oh, like that's it's a little different. And then, but I'm like, do whatever you want. Do whatever makes you happy. Like, do what you are passionate about, which is a clear advantage, I think, for Warframe itself, is the passion of the team.
Yes, your art style is unique. The art direction is different. It's like a blend of so many different concepts that I rarely see in a lot of other games, even in this day. So it's like,
Yeah, but I think you're right. In the end, it's different, and it's different enough that it appeals to a certain crowd, and they get in there, and that's the world, and it's a unique world.
Warframe's world continues to evolve. There are communities of players within the game who write wiki articles on how best to min-max your frames. There are communities of pet fanatics. There are speedrunners, lore enthusiasts, and of course there are communities of people who just want to look good. The joke in the community.
all right, that's fucking cool. I vibe with it. Listen, whether I can't promise, and realistically, I'm a variety gamer. I tend to bounce between games a lot, right? But whether I stick to a game or I don't, I fucking love good in-depth communities, right? I come from a Final Fantasy 14 community where genuinely, dude, there are players that dedicate 100% of their time to just crafting and being merchants. That's it. And you know what they do? They abuse fuckers like me that can't craft for the life of them because I got fucking ADHD, right? And they're like, hey, my slave, go onwards and fight all of the extreme and savage difficulty bosses for me. Otherwise, you'll be broke as all hell, and I'm your only source of income, and that's the only way I'll craft you this weapon for cheap, you know? And like, that's so cool where you have like these inner communities that all can bounce off of each other, and these different sections that thrive off of each other and make it feel like it's its own real life world in a video game. Like, that's so special, and it's cool to see that like Warframe has that. The running joke in Final Fantasy 14 is like, fashion is the true end game, and I keep seeing in the chat, fashion frame is a real thing, and that's so sick, dude.
Is that since Warframe doesn't really have an end game,
That's
the
so
end
sick.
game is simply making the sickest looking frame you can. Something the community calls fashion framing. Last year, Warframe received its biggest update yet, the Plains of Eidolon, an open map for players to traverse, complete with quests to complete and mobs to kill. It's a wonderful step in an exciting new direction for Warframe, but perhaps it's not a new direction. Perhaps it's a step back 18 years to an idea for an MMO called Dark Sector that never came to pass.
I think you could easily make a case for we're on Warframe 3. You know, like if this was a traditional cycle, I'd say what was there in 1, the things that are there are you are the Space Ninja, but God, I mean, there's Tenno now. You can play out in open landscapes. It was a corridor shooter. You can fly around, you know, you were grounded. The amount of weapons, I mean, the game has just constantly evolved, and it still evolves now.
It's a lot of fly by the seat of our pants. It's a lot of like building the tracks as we're racing down, barreling, you know, towards it. You know, we have a destination in mind. When we're going to get there, we're not exactly sure, but there's definitely long-term goals, but a lot of the short-term stuff is kind of, you know, made up as we go.
It's not always an easy 5 years, and it's the best 5 years of my life, no matter what. Like, I'm not saying this is grim or anything, but to have a community that feels listened to is probably, I feel like it's a part of my life that I'm very proud of, but I also understand that not everyone always feels listened to in every industry, in every game, and it's...
Fuck, bro, in every community, good lord, bro, in our community, I don't listen to everyone the way that I should, right? And there's only so much that you can listen to. But man, is it a special thing to still have a community that is willing to hear you out at the very least. And that's a fucking blessing. And I love that she's admitting that, like, both sides. It's nice to have a community that listens, but then at the same time, it is also special that, you know, sometimes you have a community that doesn't feel listened to, but is still around and still hears you out.
Listen to is probably, I feel like it's a part of my life that I'm very proud of, but I also understand that not everyone always feels listened to in every industry, in every game, and it's really, you know, it's really something special that I hope we can continue to do well.
Warframe is what it was, and now it's grown in a really, really interesting way that was super compelling to the fans. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more of that kind of stuff coming. So it'll be really interesting to see how the game evolves and what it becomes, because it's with so many people working on it and with such an expandable concept for a game or expandable premise, who knows where it could go, but it'll become bigger and really, really interesting.
The thing I'm most proud of with Warframe is the change and is the castle built on those ruins. Like, we added fishing to the damn game, right? So we can get back almost to those completely infeasible dreams we had with the MMO Warframe. Well, we added fishing to the change and is the castle built on those ruins. Like, we added
That's a fish. That's a fish. That's a
fishing to the damn game, right? So we can get back almost to those completely infeasible dreams we had with the MMO Warframe, well, it was called Dark Sector back then, but we can get back to those ideas and try kind of more weird things.
Wait. Digital Extremes is still behind Warframe, right? So are they saying that Perfect World is... So Perfect World still has a huge majority stake inside of the Warframe. Bro, I did not know that. Wow. Wow.
The plains of Eidolon.
That's cute.
The site of an historic battle between the Orokin and a great sentient. These plains are...
Dude, the history of this game is really funny. I think this one and I don't know many game companies, right? I'm a little bit of a normie and I'm a little uncultured, but I know some things. But by far, the Warframe team, Digital Extremes, has one of the coolest roller coaster of a history I've seen in gaming. If there's any other games or even Warframe videos that you'd like for us to check out that are well done like this one, let me know in the comments down below. YouTube, if you're watching this, leave a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Join us over on Kick, where we do a lot of live streaming every single day, almost every single day. I'll see y'all soon. Thanks for the support. Until next time, take care of yourselves.